Classic Nerd. Drop it. Power panel. Cenk Uygur. Nina Turner, host of Unbossed. John Iadarola, host of Damage Report. All the dragons are in the house. Okay. No one's ever been more serious and more silly at the same time than me. I broke the record. It's true. Okay. It's universally agreed upon. All right, guys. We have an excellent show for you guys. Lots of interesting, important, serious stories. Also, of course, some goofy ones. If you make it all the way to the bonus episode, we break legs and we make them stronger. You'll understand what that means if you watch the bonus episode today. That's for the members, tyt.com/join. That's okay. And on YouTube, they made a whole button for it. It's called Join. It's right underneath the video.
It's convenient.
Yes, before we get started, Senator Nina Turner, how are you?
I'm mighty fine, Cenk. How are you?
I am great. We've got a senator and a mayor on the show today. I'm super looking forward to Mayor of Enfield, North Carolina, Mondale Robinson. You got to check him out. He's the one that single-handedly tore down a Confederate statue in his own town. He's on in the second hour. This is a bananas show. Obviously, Unbossed starts on October 17th. I need everyone to panic and go to tyt.com/unbossedtyt. Just start subscribing left and right to YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. Make sure that you're getting Nina Turner's new show that starts in about a month. All right. Now, having said all that, John Iadarola has the news.
I, in fact, do. So people are saying my level is loud. We checked it and it was perfectly fine. But with that, let's jump into the news.
I don't think they're going to stop till they indict you, Donald Trump. Will you run for president anyway, even if you're indicted?
Well, I can't imagine being indicted. I've done nothing wrong. I don't think the people of the United States would stand for it. And as you know, if a thing like that happened, I would have no prohibition against running. You know that. You've already
I do, and that's what I want people to understand. That would not take you out of the arena.
It would not. But I think if it happened, I think you'd have problems in this country, the likes of which perhaps we've never seen before. I don't think the people of the United States would stand for it.
So, of course, that's just more threats from Donald Trump. He's feeling under pressure from the FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago and what's come out legally since then. And so he is telling his people, the tens of millions who still somehow support him after all this time, that this is unacceptable. And just saying they're not going to accept it, there will be problems. There was a follow-up from Hugh Hewitt asking what sorts of problems. And, of course, Trump isn't going to say. He's just minimally savvy. And he doesn't want to specifically say more coups, more insurrection, more attempts to assassinate individual politicians. But clearly the threat is there. And we're going to get to some of the developments in the case. But I wanted to give our panel a chance to weigh in on Donald Trump, you know, in the wake of an attack against the FBI in Cincinnati, in a week that has seen multiple either successful murderous attacks by QAnon cultists or attempted ones. Donald Trump once again indicating to his audience that political violence might be necessary.
Yeah, I'm going to start on a smaller point, go to a larger one. He said in the beginning of that clip, I can't imagine why I'd be indicted. Sean Hannity did a segment on his show the other day on Fox News where he listed 30 crimes that he's been charged with. Thank you, Sean, by the way, for that ad. We appreciate it. So that there are allegations against him on. I should be clear about that. Not that he's been technically charged. There's a reason why you might be charged. In fact, there's 30 reasons why you might be charged. And actually, Hannity left out some. Okay, so, but in his infinite entitlement, he's like, I'm a wealthy kind of white right-winger. I can't imagine why I'd be charged just for breaking the law 30 times. And there's some truth to that, because in this country, those folks never do get charged. And he hasn't gotten charged for dozens and dozens of crimes. So that's the one thing he's partly being honest about. Now, look, the threats are super obvious. And context is important here. If like a rando, a nurse told you there's going to be, a doctor told you there's going to be consequences in this country that we can't imagine, you might think like, I wonder if there's health consequences they know about, we don't know about, they're warning us about a disease or something like that, right? when Trump tells you that after his supporters already broke into the Capitol, and people were killed and people charged with all sorts of crimes against the state, having now gotten many years in prison, and he chanted about murdering his vice president. We now know that he did not mind that they were chanting about murdering his vice president. The context of all of the right-wing extremism, the synagogue shootings, the church shootings, the racial shootings, the kidnapping of the plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan, et cetera, et cetera. In that context, him saying, "Oh, we could have problems like nobody's ever seen in this country," well, that's a clear threat. And he's not semi-fascist. He's fully fascist. And if you can't see that, you're trying super hard not to see it.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely, well, amen to everything you just said, Cenk. He's ginning up his base, and he's doing it in the broad open daylight. He's not even leaving anything to the imagination, just as he has before. The man is delusional, and he is dangerous because, John, also, as you pointed out, he does have tens of millions of people. I mean, I think the man got, 70 million votes or 70 million plus votes. Not saying that all of these people would be at his beck and call. However, there are way too many people who will, i.e. what happened on January the 6th. People, we need to really keep an eye on this, the Department of Justice and everybody else, because when he says these types of things, there are far too many people willing to act on them. And he's still saying that 2020 was a hoax. So he's still not willing to admit that he absolutely lost this race. This is problematic for all of us.
And by the way, I want to add to his threats and to, so frequently, virtually everyone in right-wing media talks about they are constantly predicting civil war if they don't get their way, regardless of what the issue is. If everything doesn't come up exactly as they want, civil war is going to happen. There's going to be riots in the streets, all that. The senators, the politicians, even people who don't identify as MAGA people, Meghan McCain would constantly talk about it. Like if they do anything with guns, there's going to be civil war. And they effectively never, maybe 1% of the time, then go on to say, and that would be bad. Trump did not say there will be problems. People won't stand for it. There'll be riots in the streets. And that can't happen because political violence is obviously illegitimate. And we will fight people on the battlefield of ideas, never physically. I mean, it's ridiculous to even bring up the possibility of him talking in that way, but he's not going to say it. He's always going to leave it open. There might be chaos, and maybe that's okay. Maybe it's not. Maybe I like it. Maybe I don't. I'm not going to tell you. You fill in the blanks for you, for yourself. The craziest people in the country, you decide if it might be necessary. Now, we'll see.
Well, we know he likes it. I mean, we know he likes it because we have January the 6th to show us very much how this man rolls. I mean, he sits back and he revels in this. This is his energy. The man got more lives than a cat. You talk about 9 lives. The man has 50,000 lives. I can't even begin to understand how he continues to be able to get away with all of this stuff, but he does continue to get away with it. He's almost like well, I'm not even going to say that, but let's just say this. We need to take very seriously what he is saying and how he is ginning up his base, because they will obey him.
100%. So let's get on to what actually has been developing in this case. Trump's chosen judge, federal judge Aileen Cannon, he appointed her. She's been having his back, and she effectively continues to. She's come out with just a couple of additions to his legal trouble when it comes to the stolen classified documents. She has denied the DOJ access to going through the documents, while the special master, which she has now chosen, goes through them instead. And she has chosen the one that Trump suggested. Now, notably, the DOJ was apparently also fine with this guy. So let's catch you up on all of this new material. Aileen Cannon declined to lift any part of the order she issued last week that the DOJ was asking about. That barred the department from using the stolen documents, including about 100 marked classified, in its ongoing investigation. So they had asked for immediate access to that again. They're not getting it. And she appointed a special master. This is Raymond Deary, a semi-retired judge from the Federal District Court for the Eastern District of New York. And so it is now his task, and apparently only his task, to go through the vast majority of this classified information. There was a smaller subset of the documents that they will still be allowed to go through, but for the rest, we are now going to have to wait for Dearie, and it feels very uncomfortable to refer to him in that way, but we're going to go with it. Judge Dearie will now have the authority to sift through more than 11,000 records. The move is a blow to the Justice Department, almost certain to significantly delay its investigation. And that could well be the entire point of it. So we now have to wait until the end of November. I believe November 30th is when he is expected to or required to conclude his review. We don't have a lot of details on exactly what the timeline would be following that for us to find out what he had found, for the DOJ to begin to once again have access to those records, to potentially have some sort of consequences based on what the special master finds. And bear in mind, this is a couple of months away. And so it's entirely possible that most people in the media will have moved on, will be beyond the midterms at that point. I mean, God only knows what insanity we'll be dealing with. But that is, as of right now, the legal developments.
Yeah. John, I actually want to refer to Graphic 7 here because there are folks who try to get information and defend people who have gotten some documents from the government before. So they've dealt with these cases a lot. And one of them is this attorney, Mark Zed. And he is saying, well, I've never seen this in a case in my life. He says, I've been litigating against the United States government for 30 years regarding classified records. Now, remember, he's litigating against the United States government, okay? Before Democrats and GOP appointed judges, or both of them. I've never seen a federal judge disregard executive branch classification concerns to such an extent as Judge Cannon did tonight. So basically, if he's representing client took some classified documents home, let's say, okay? The government, the judges, he says, cut him no slack at all in every case, right? They're like, no, you can't just say, I don't care that the executive branch called it classified or top secret. I took him home anyway. It's like, it's not a thing, right? But Trump is saying it, and now a Trump-appointed judge who had no prior experience as a judge is saying, oh, Trump did it? Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not concerned about it. Completely different standard. That's why Trump is always confused whenever anyone says that he should be prosecuted. He's like, I don't get it. I've been breaking the law my whole life, and no one's ever prosecuted me. Like, so why would you start now? No, of course, it's a different standard to me than to anyone else. Look, one of our contributors on Rebel Headquarters is Richard Rogetta, and he had top secret classified access. And he did a letter along with Congressman Ted Lieu and others that had classified access. They're like, look, if any of us did this, so is there going to be two standards? Because if any of us did this earlier or do this in the future, we will definitely go to jail. But now judges are saying, well, maybe Trump won't. Maybe there's a second set of laws that apply only to Trump. And those are Trump-appointed judges saying that Trump is almost literally above the law.
Exactly right. I mean, he has built the judiciary in his own image. So not just the United States Supreme Court, but the courts lower than the United States Supreme Court. The man is shrewd as hell and dangerous as hell. And that is why, I mean, he knows, because these are his people. And whether or not, I want to take this one step further, whether or not he ever runs for president again, he has built a Congress in his own image as well. This power, this being, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it seems as though Trump has it at this moment.
So I want to ask both of you just to see for sure, like, if the special master request had not gone through, we still might well have to wait quite a bit to know for sure what happened with Trump. Now it's going to take longer. And I was talking with David Schuster this morning. By the time this is now concluded, or even once we get to the point where if they were going to be charges, there would be, there's now a very good chance that Donald Trump will already be a declared candidate. Like, we've almost assured that now with this delay. And so I'm kind of curious how, or if at all, these developments affect your expectation, your prediction of what, if any, consequences might come out of this in the end.
Yeah. So the problem is there's the law as it is, and politics as it is, and what it should be, right? So There's no reason in the world for anyone to care that he's a declared candidate. So what? So, okay, can I just murder someone in the streets and the next day go, I'm running for president? Nope, sorry. I mean, there's no special law about if you're running for president and you've declared as a candidate that you can't be prosecuted. So that's the most obvious thing in the world. Or that we would delay a prosecution because you declared yourself a candidate. And by the way, is it just president? I mean, as long as we're making up rules and laws, or can I say, hey, I'm going to run for mayor, I'm going to run for dog catcher, so you saw me murder someone on TV, but too late. And right afterwards, I declared my candidacy for city council. That's it. I'm above the law. No, look, you could say it in almost any context, and you know that the Trump standard is absurd when applied to anyone else. But here we are because of, honestly, incredible weakness from Democrats and incredible weakness from the government infrastructure overall in responding to fascism. They're not prepared for it. So they're constantly like, how do I apply etiquette? They're always thinking about etiquette. F your etiquette. There's fascists at the door. You're worried about etiquette? Look, I can prove it to you one last thing here. He just said in an interview with Hugh Hewitt, if I'm indicted, people are not going to stand for it, okay? And he said people are going to be very angry in this country, and there's going to be problems in this country. Now, imagine if I said the same exact thing, but I said it about Trump. And I said, if Trump says something about me, he's going to have very significant problems, and my fans won't stand for it. And I guarantee you he'll have problems. The Secret Service would investigate me and maybe arrest me. But Trump says it, threatens the country at large, and we're like, no, it's Trump. We got a rich white right-winger. Everybody back out. Everybody back out. Let the fascist do whatever he wants, plus etiquette.
I mean, I think the Democrats do not have the intestinal fortitude. I'm being kind because it's a PG show. They're just not gangster enough. They are just not. And it is going to be because of that they will be hesitant, John, I think, to do anything. Let us not forget that Mr. Trump did say that he could walk out and shoot somebody. I think it was on Fifth Avenue. If I got the avenue wrong, let me know. And he said nothing would happen to me. Well, guess what? He has proven himself to be right, at least symbolically right so far.
100%. Well, there's a lot of other crazy stuff going on, so we're going to turn to that in a bit. We have to take our first break, though. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few.
All right, back on the Young Turks. Cenk, Uygur, Nina Turner, John Iadarola with you guys. Nina's going to start her new show on the TYT network, Unbossed. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern every day. On October 17th it starts, and it goes from then on. And obviously 1 p.m. Pacific. Look, the most important part is actually go to youtube.com/unbossedtyt. We need 10,000 subscribers there to get the show to a bigger audience, a more general audience. So make sure that it takes 2 seconds to do it. youtube.com/unbossedtyt. And Unbossed is going to follow Indisputable, which follows Damage Report, which is John's show, which follows Watchlist, which is JR's show. So look at this beautiful TYT network lineup. Beautiful. Okay.
It's not bad.
All right. Speaking of Damage Report, John, take it away.
I will take it away. Actually, the director's going to take it away by launching us into this video.
In the 4 years that I've sat on this committee, I have never seen members of Congress, Republican or Democrat, disrespect a witness in the way that I have seen them disrespect you today. I do not care what party they are in. I've never seen anything like that.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez feeling like she needed to apologize to a witness that had been brought into the House Oversight Committee, specifically Raya Salter, an environmental expert who had been brought in to talk about the death of Black and brown people in the South due to toxic chemicals. And that expert was accosted viciously by Representative Clay Higgins. Why don't we go to a little bit of what this expert was required to endure.
Do you care about the planet, good lady? Everything you've got is petrochemical products. What would you do with that? Tell the world.
If I had that power in the world, actually, I don't need that power, because what I would do is ask you, sir, from Louisiana.
I'm giving you the power. You're presenting.
To search
it's impossible
you, sir, from Louisiana,
positive.
to search your heart and understand why the EPA knows that toxic petrochemical facilities are some of the most toxic, polluting facilities in the world, and are killing black people throughout Louisiana.
Okay,
so my first thing would be you to search your heart and ask your God what you are doing to the black and poor people in Louisiana. That would be my first thing to ask.
Let's just have one at a time so that we can.
It's my time, Mr. Chairman. If I reclaim my time, I shall. I'm going to give this young lady an opportunity. You might not like it, but America needs to hear it. You've got no answer, do you, young lady, about what to do with petrochemical products. So I'll move on.
To be clear, he's accusing her of having no answer. He has one answer about what to do. Literally nothing. Well, that's not fair. Continue to get checks from the corporations that make these products that are killing people. Do literally nothing to regulate them. Stand idly by as more people die and become rich as a result. So that, to be fair, he has one more solution than she does, I guess. Anyway, here is what was at issue in this hearing. It was on the tens of billions of dollars oil companies rake in annually and their failure to mitigate the damage their extraction practices are doing to the planet, instead embarking on what are termed greenwashing campaigns, while people in frontline communities across the U.S. and the world face increasingly extreme weather events fueled by the heating of the planet. And so she was rightly indignant over the damage that's being done and the deaths that are already happening. He was incredibly frustrated that she cared and that there was a hearing intended to actually fix the problem. And so we'll have a little bit more of AOC responding to Representative Clay Higgins, but I want to give the panel a chance to weigh in.
Yeah, so a couple of things. First, I guess he says young lady in his normal way of speaking, but I don't know. I do know he said it to her many times, but I don't know if you caught it. He called her boo at one point. She's not your boo. What do you think you're doing? That was deeply problematic, right? Like, oh, I'm cool, and I'm just gonna, like, if that was an older white lady, would you have called her boo? There's no way, and you know, right? If she was a right winger, there's no way he would have done it. All right, but now onto the substance. Look, I actually don't mind his question. His question is, okay, are we everything runs on petrochemicals? There's a lot of truth to that. What would you do? I think there's relatively simple answers to that. Number one, she's mainly talking about where the facilities are, that you're putting them in black and brown communities, and they're having to deal with the cost of this product, and the cost is in their lives and their health, et cetera. So even if we needed those products, you don't have to put them right next to a black community. We could put them in places that are equitable, some in black communities, some in white communities, et cetera. So he's not addressing the topic of the panel at all. He's trying to divert you into saying, well, we need it, so obviously we're going to put it where it's going to hurt you and not me, okay? Second of all, why are we paying for the cost of the most profitable companies in the world? The ExxonMobil, Chevron, et cetera, they're creating that cost. So why don't they pay for it instead of us? And third of all, of course, the answer is renewable energy. It's not a hard answer at all. So all of it is, misdirection. And it's intended for his audience, who's going to like him insulting a young black woman.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, I'm triggered as hell by that. I was triggered when I watched it earlier. I'm triggered right now. I wish I could use sharper language. This representative had no respect for her whatsoever. And I'm glad that Representative Ocasio-Cortez called him out on it. And Cenk, you're right. I mean, I have boo capital circled, underlined, highlighted, because he would not have used that language towards anybody else other than a black woman. And you're right, Cenk, maybe he does use young lady on a regular basis, but in this context, young lady, boo, it is very condescending. And there was a period of time in this country's history where grown Black people, both men and women, were referred to as boys and girls. This is a damn microaggression. She's feeling the microaggression. These are things that Black people go through all the time, whether you're testifying before Congress with a ass of a congressperson or not. But it's the context by which he's using all of these terms. And lastly, yes, he's going to answer to his owner donors. And that was all a show for both of his bases, Cenk and John, both the owner donor base and also his electorate base, his electoral base. Oh, he put on a show for them.
100%.
I would have jumped over that table and I want to jump over that table and choke him. It would have been worth it. It would have been worth it.
I would have loved to have seen it.
But to be carted out.
Her response was strong too. She did not allow him to just bully her.
No, she did not. She knew exactly what was happening because you know what? This ain't the first time she had to deal with a white man like him. Maybe they didn't come like that, but she's had to deal. She's been in these kind of situations before, but definitely he deserves somebody to jump over that table.
Yeah, and bear in mind the incentives. That guy can do that knowing it's being recorded and knowing that the more vicious, the more misogynistic, the more racist he is, the better a clip it's going to make for Twitter. It's disgusting, the incentives.
That's exactly right. It really is.
Thankfully, we do have some people with a bit of empathy, a bit of compassion. So let's give you a little bit more of Representative Ocasio-Cortez.
For the gentleman of Louisiana and the comfort that he felt in yelling at you like that, there's more than one way to get a point across. And frankly, men who treat women like that in public, I fear how they treat them in private. We can be better than this. We don't have to resort to yelling.
That seems pretty reasonable to me.
There's one thing that I don't agree with the Congresswoman on, and that's calling him a gentleman. He's nobody's damn gentleman.
Yeah. Well, actually, I also have something to disagree with AOC on. So I want a path that's somewhere between AOC and what Nina just said. Okay. I mean, we probably shouldn't jump over the table and choke him. Okay, let's just
I guess we shouldn't.
No, we shouldn't.
Symbolically.
Symbolically, metaphorically, okay? But speaking of which, when AOC says we don't have to do it by yelling, no, I don't care about that. I think that civility is a tool for compliance. And I don't, so nothing physical, but I would prefer that our congresspeople get louder instead of beseeching the Republicans to get softer, because they're not going to, right? So lay a metaphorical stick on them, right? And so, I'll give you an excellent example of how to do that. So let's show you graphic 2. This is the donors of Clay Higgins. You know what Nina just referred to as his owner donors, because they own all these politicians. And look at that. First of all, this is a tiny example of it because there's dark money PACs. There's so many other ways that lobbyists funnel money to representatives like Higgins. But there you see number 4 on his list is oil and gas. Among his top 5 donors are oil and gas industry. And here's this corrupt son of a bitch in Congress calling people boo, etc., to demean them when he's stuffing his pockets full of oil and gas money. Higgins is a crook. Wouldn't it be amazing if there was someone in Congress who, instead of getting offended, say, hey, I'd like to point out that my colleague here, Congressman Higgins, is a crook, and he's using this as a smokescreen to do his getaway. He stuffed all that money into his pockets from the oil and gas industry, and he doesn't care about whether you're left-wing, right-wing, you're his voter or not, black, white. He doesn't care. By the way, to be fair to him, he would put it right next to a white community and poison you too, as long as you paid him enough. That's who the corrupt son of a bitch Clay Higgins is. But unfortunately for Democrats, that's considered a third rail. You can't do that in Washington because feelings will be hurt.
100%.
Yeah. Oh my God. Wait, John, don't move. I mean, you are so right. I mean, I've been in many a committee, and I'm glad that you pointed out that his line of questioning was not these fools. But I'm gonna give it to the Congresswoman. At least she said something about it. But Cenk, you right. We need some ham. Go ham on these fools, metaphorically speaking.
Go harder.
And I just want to be clear that if anyone in the audience feels like I've been yelling at them, it's just a mic thing. I'm not Clay Higgins. I'm not anything like him. Anyway, with that, I think we got a pretty ridiculous story to get to, but why don't we take our second break? We'll regroup and be back with more news after this.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk, John, and Nina with you guys. This is the comment I was trying to find earlier. On Twitch, Shemlin Gremlin said, Nina Turner speaks, and I get chills. She's wonderful. Well, you're not alone. You're not alone. Everybody, have I mentioned On Boss starts on October 17th? It's at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. YouTube.com/OnBossTYT. Subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. Another screen. We're still on. Put up another screen. Oh, subscribe. You did it. YouTube.com/OnBossTYT. All right. Now, the host of Damage Report, John Iadarola.
That would be me. And this would be our next video.
That schoolroom sign that I saw in the New York Times, the world is better because you are in it. I don't know what grade it was. I assume something like 5th grade. What a stupid message. Plus, it's not true. What has any 5th grader done to have made the world better because he or she is in it?
So that is Dennis Prager, a guy who is infuriated by a picture that he saw hanging on a wall in a school. And it sort of makes sense that he'd be sensitive about what goes on in schools since he is the leader of PragerU, a literal fake school. But anyway, while it's pathetic and it makes him look absolutely terrible, people online had a lot of fun with his embarrassing comments. SDL tweeted the average 5th grader adds more to the world in a day than Dennis Prager in a lifetime. And I don't think it takes a full day, by the way. I think by the time they break for lunch, the 5th graders passed him. Anyway, Mrs. Betty Bowers says the "we must protect our children" folks seem eager to insult them. And that is definitely the case. Now, we can speculate about why exactly he is so sensitive about messages of positivity and hope and encouragement for kids, but he has actually given us a little bit of a clue as to why he might not like that stuff. Take a look at this.
It's the opposite of the way many of us were raised. If my father had said to me, you know, Dennis, the world is better because you are in it, I would have believed that even though he was never drunk, that he was actually drunk.
That gives you a little bit of a window into his family life. And, I'm not a part of his family. I can't judge, but I can have thoughts, and I'm having them right now. What do you both think?
Yeah, I think that's called telling on yourself. And my number one takeaway from that video was be kind to your children. Otherwise, they might turn out to be conservative. Like that, there's a reason why people turn out the way that they do, right? And so apparently his dad was, very mean to him. So he grew up being a very mean person because that's what he learned. Like his dad told him that he wasn't worth anything. So that's what he puts out into the world. So, I mean, now to his original point, what has a 5th grader ever done that's contributed to the world? I don't know, made his parents happier, made his grandparents happier, made his friends happier. And you don't have to solve the theory of relativity by the time you're in 5th grade. People generally like kids. They think that they bring sunshine and happiness into their lives. But for Prager, that's an unthinkable thought. Like, you have no value. The world's not better because you're in it. Are you insane? Like, have you ever had kids or grades? I have a daughter who's in 3rd grade, 4th grade, I should say. She's watching, she's like, Mama! Anyway, and I have a son who's in 7th grade. What have they done to make the world better? They exist. I love them. I think they're amazing. They made the world so much better for me, my family, everybody that knows them.
I'm not buying it yet, Cenk. You're talking about like feelings and stuff, and your worth in the world doesn't care about your feelings. What have they produced? What products and services have they made?
No, but John makes a good point, Nina. Like, I think that from the right-wing mind, he's like, have they turned a profit yet? If they have not turned a profit, then no, you've done nothing in the world. Nina, you're muted.
Thank you. The man got a lot of fifth grader envy. I mean, that's what I picked up. He wants to be a fifth grader. He hating on the fifth graders because he's not a fifth grader. But seriously, as a parent, you speak life into your children. That is what you are supposed to do so that they do grow up to be well-rounded and that they love themselves and people around them. The man is it's just a stupid comment. Bottom line, just a stupid comment.
And it's apparently something that bothered him so much that in a totally separate clip, he also talked about this sign and then turned a bit more to his family life. Let's watch that.
If you would have said to my parents, I think you should tell Dennis that the world is better because he is in it, I think my mother would have probably just left the room and done what she wanted to do, call up a friend or something. My father would probably have said, what? I'm not sure he would have understood. It's not like his English was defective. His English was perfect.
What a sad old broken man. What just a sad creature. And the fact that anyone would watch it is mind-blowing to me, not only because nothing about that is compelling, honestly, the fact that he's embarrassing himself, that's kind of funny. This is honestly the best content he's ever produced, but he's awful on camera in the best of times, and these are not the best of times for him. He's effectively falling apart. Like, as they sort of say, like, guys like this will literally make a fake university and a YouTube channel rather than go to therapy. Just talk to someone honestly. Like, there should be no stigma around mental health issues. He clearly needs some help, or at least a friend or something. But that it bothers him this much. And you saw his little rundown. It's this sign, then it's the self-esteem movement. Are you heaping praise on your kid? This is not heaping praise. This isn't implying they're little kings and queens. This is saying, I prefer the world with you in it to it not having you. That's it. That is a minimal level of praise. Does he critique when someone says that they love someone? Yeah, well, that's just a feeling. It doesn't literally mean anything. That's maybe hormones at best. This guy exists to suck all of the joy and love and warmth out of the world.
Yeah, no. John made a great point there. Why did the sign bother him so much? I mean, it stayed with him. I mean, he did several days of commentary, apparently. Those are two different shots, right? About this sign. It's stuck in his head. It wouldn't have, if I saw a sign in a school that said, oh, the world's better because you're in it, I would think, well, that's a benign statement. God bless, we move on. I wouldn't look twice at it, right? But for him, that really instinctually bothered him, viscerally bothered him, right? And it's super obvious. You don't need to be a psychologist or a therapist to figure it out. He didn't get any love in his, and he's telling you, he didn't get any love growing up. And he thinks that getting love is coddling someone. That's not true at all. My dad loved me, and then he told me to go mow the goddamn lawn, right? And then he had me do construction, right? Since I was 12. Keep it real, okay? So you could be a hard-charging immigrant parent and expect the world of your kids and still love them to death, love them to pieces, okay? My mom and dad loved me, and I had no question about that. And when I see a sign that says, hey, kids bring value to the world, I don't go, I hate that. No, they don't. There's something psychologically wrong with you if you think that way.
Yeah, he's definitely triggered. You're right. I mean, I said it was a stupid comment, but you and John laid it. He might have something going on there, but he definitely has fifth grader envy. And that alone he needs to be checked out just for that alone. Misery loves company, as the saying goes, and he has shown himself to be miserable, and he's picking on fifth graders.
By the way, I'm going to close by saying, when I get done with the show, I might tweet at him, the world is better because my dog Hilo is in it, which is both a factual statement and will also probably ruin his night. I encourage you to tweet at Dennis Prager, the world is better because my Nana is in it. The world is better because Bernie Sanders is in it. The world is better because my sister is in it. Whoever it is that makes the world a little bit more tolerable for you, embrace that love while ruining his day.
But John, again, brilliant idea. But he might even join in, because remember, PragerU is financed by right-wing billionaires. They give him $20 to $25 million for free every year, not an investment, just free. Go do propaganda for us. But then he sucks at it so much that he takes most of the money and uses it to buy views, so he can trick those billionaires into giving him more money to do this. So he might say, petrochemical billionaires. It's better for having you in it, okay? Or at least I'm better for having you in it. And he could also star in his new show, Are You Happier Than a Fifth Grader?
That's good. Also, I considered possibly tweeting at him, a throwback to what Nina and I talked about yesterday. The world is better because there are now black mermaids in it, but I'm worried that might literally kill him. So I'm not going to do that.
Oh, my dad would have hated that statement as much as he hated me.
John, please do it. Please.
Okay, I'm going to tweet it. No, anyway.
Okay. This is our mission to break Dennis Prager.
I think the sign broke him. I don't think he'll ever recover, actually. Anyway.
That's right. That fifth grader envy is tough. It's real. It's potent.
100%. Well, why don't we turn from that fun to something super serious? A congressperson seen on video assaulting someone. Let's take a look.
You're the one that believes that the insurrection that's out of line. You're the one that believes that the insurrection that's out of line.
Marjorie Greene is now being accused of kicking an 18-year-old activist, and you're seeing the footage of it right now. That is Mariana Pecora, who tweeted out, "My name is Mariana Pecora. I'm the Deputy Communications Director of Voters Tomorrow, and Representative Marjorie Greene just kicked me." She was walking in front of Greene. She and other activists were trying to ask Greene questions, mainly about gun control. Marjorie Greene was being as aggressive and dim as ever, and she apparently didn't like that someone was walking in front of her. Despite it being clear in video that there was a lot of room behind her, she could have walked slower, she decided to kick the activist. And we have a different angle. Take a look at this.
How does the Second Amendment prevent gun violence? The Second Amendment, how does the Second Amendment prevent gun violence? You're the one that believes that the insurrection that's out of line. You're blocking a member of Congress.
Excuse me, ma'am.
You're blocking a member of Congress. You need to stay away.
Members of Congress.
You can't block members of Congress.
You
literally cannot do that. It's insurrection that's out of line. You're blocking a member of Congress.
By the way, that video Marjorie Greene herself put on Twitter, seeming to want the world to know that she goes around kicking people, and thereby answering the question I've had for some time. What does a congresswoman who isn't on any committees and doesn't write legislation actually do with her time? She kicks kids. That's what she does. What do you both think about this?
They've become comic book villains. I mean, now they're kicking kids. So look, let's put it in context. Okay, so did she strangle the kid? No. Okay, but did she take some physical action towards her? There's no question. You see it in the video, clear as day. You see her looking down, Marjorie Taylor Greene looking down before she does it. And I can't quite tell if she's kicking her or if she's trying to step on her shoes. And I actually think that's very possible, because remember, Marjorie Taylor Greene in her mind is a child, right? So she's probably thinking, I'm going to give her a flat. Okay. And that is about the, capacity, her mental capacity, as we've seen 1,000 times over. And I would like to also note the irony of them saying, you cannot block a member of Congress. You cannot block a member of Congress. Although on January 6th, you could hunt them down and maybe do physical harm to them Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't mind that. But God forbid you ask her a tough question. You can't block a member of Congress. You can't block her. Oh, really? That's apparently new.
Yeah. Hello, somebody on that, Cenk. I mean, you said everything I was going to say with the exception of Georgia. Get your congresswoman, please.
Somebody's got to rein her in.
Please, get her.
Or Marjorie Greene, go there. Go, like there are people who could use a little bit of help, I'm sure, in that entire state. Congress people are supposed to actually do services for their constituents. She hosts a podcast. Maybe that's a service. I don't know. Anyway, we have a statement from Mariana Pecora, who said, "It's honestly like really disheartening to think that a bunch of kids can hold themselves with better composure than a sitting member of Congress. We've been sitting in meetings all week with both Democrats and Republicans. Nobody has been anything but respectful. Everybody has just been so incredibly attentive and taken us seriously and had like really productive conversations with us, except for Marjorie Taylor Greene." And she and her group say that they haven't yet decided if they're going to be pressing charges or anything like that. If they choose to, they have some video evidence, and thanks to Marjorie Greene, they have multiple angles on it.
Yeah, I want to go to graphics 6 and 7 here because so Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted this out like she's proud of it. Like, look at me, look, kicking children. Where are the puppies? I'll kick them too. But she wrote out, these foolish cowards want the government to take away guns and the rights of parents to defend their children in schools. You have to be an idiot to think gun control will create a utopian society where criminals disarm themselves and obey the law. Gun-free zones kill people. Do they? Because I'd like to show you graphic 7. So this is a chart of gun-related deaths versus guns in the country. You see us on the far right corner. We have tons and tons of guns, and we have tons and tons and tons of gun deaths. It looks, and we don't have, there's no gun-free zones in a lot of America, and that's what we have, nothing but massacres, right? Now, at the bottom left is people who are countries that have gun-free zones. The entire country's a gun-free zone, okay? And what happened? In Japan, the UK, Netherlands, South Korea, there's almost no gun-related deaths. Almost none. Who's the idiot now, Marjorie Taylor Greene? The massacres are because of the guns. It is absolutely indisputable. If you don't believe that, you just simply don't understand facts. You're mentally incapable of understanding math, numbers, and logic. And there's no question you're the idiot.
Amen.
Yeah, I would also, really fast, I just want to add that one thing. I have a challenge, an ongoing standing challenge for right-wingers, especially right-wingers who, for them, having access to guns is the most important thing in the world. They love this argument about gun-free zones. You see her tweeting out gun-free zones kill people. So obviously schools are gun-free zones. That's why in America kids dies, because it's a gun-free zone. Why doesn't it happen in any other country? Why does the fact that those are gun-free zones in every other country in the world not result in constant mass shootings in schools? Why in the UK? Why in Germany? Why in Russia? Why in Madagascar? They're gun-free zones, and yet there's no shootings. They don't have an answer, and they're not required to ever answer, despite the fact that we have supposedly a media, we have an opposition party. They just keep saying the same debunked nonsense.
Look, you're forcing me to say two more things, John.
Apologies.
One, again, this is a point that Nina and I made while we were both running. Why isn't there somebody in Congress that puts up that chart that I just put up and said Marjorie Taylor Greene said we're idiots because we think gun-free zones work? Well, here are countries that did gun-free zones and they have almost no deaths from guns. So it is indisputable that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a moron. Now, why do I say that? Because it'll get media attention. People are like, oh my God, he broke etiquette. He broke etiquette. Are you allowed to say that about Republicans? Republicans say it all the time about Democrats. She just said it in that tweet. And everybody's like, oh, that's totally normal. Totally normal. Republicans can say anything they want about Democrats. But Democrats are not allowed to say it. Why don't you just goddamn say it? So that it'll draw attention so people will see the chart and go, oh, wait. It turns out the guns are why we're having nonstop massacres. Because the point isn't to yell at her. The point isn't to use a bad word. The point is to get people to look at the goddamn chart and go, oh, damn, I never saw that before. I never saw that before. It turns out it is the guns. Of course it's the guns. But Democrats always way too polite. So this story will have 98% of people on the left saying she shouldn't have kicked the kid, which is obviously true. But you should also say on top of that, we should fight back against her. Not in the way she does it physically, weirdo kicking like babies and puppies, right? But we should fight back super aggressive, rhetorically and politically. Can I please see that fight in D.C. from Democrats?
Yeah.
For the love of God, Jesus, and country, please. I mean, and she made it so easy, Cenk. They make it so easy to push back on them. And the Democrats just won't do it.
All right, look, super last thing on that. Stop asking for apologies. Make them ask for an apology. Hit them so hard rhetorically that they're all going around, oh, Democrats should apologize. I got a boo-boo. Okay, get 10,000 times tougher. All right, we got to go. Everybody, you got to check out Unbossed. Go click on it now. YouTube.com/UnbossedTYT. That's where we need the subscribers in the beginning. It is important. You got to trust us on that, and it takes 2 seconds. Okay, YouTube.com/UnbossedTYT. Everything is /UnbossedTYT, whichever platform you watch on. Okay, and obviously everybody check out Damage Report as well. Unbossed with Nina Turner starts on October 17th. You guys are amazing. Thank you. And we have more amazing, sometimes ridiculous stories in the next hour, including Tucker Carlson, as usual, going over the top racist, which is, to be fair, his trademark move. And I need you to meet Mondale Robinson, who's on the panel next. He's awesome. You're going to love him. Stay right here.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.